Welcome back to part 2 of how to rehair a violin bow with things you can find around your kitchen. Let us dive right back and start exactly where we ended off last week. And if you have not seen the first part, it is linked in the description. You're going to have to watch that first, or this half isn't going to make a shred of sense. So, without further ado, cutting right back into where we left off, this is how to rehair a violin bow, part 2, with things you can find around your kitchen. Let's go. The next important step is to make sure we get this back on. This little thing right here has wedges on the edge of it, and those slide in to the frog. Be a good little boy. Here we go. Well, it appears I did that backwards. Well, apparently, one of these little black tabs that are sticking off the ends are thinner than the other ones, so it matters which way it goes. Come on. Okay, let's see if we can do this. Perfect. All right, that slid in there just beautifully. Now, there's gonna be times where you have this, where you have a stray hair that's coming out on the other side and the wrong side of our ferrule. Not a big deal, just thread them back through and everything should work correctly. Fit this little dude back on there using your tool here or anything you want to push him back on. Now, we have one other thing we gotta do, and we gotta make one of these. Try not to put a hole in my table. And you can use this little piece that came out as a reference. So you're gonna taper it on one side so that it goes down to a point. And when you finish that, we're gonna figure out how wide it needs to be. Now that I put a little groove in there, we're gonna come over here to our needle nose pliers, we're gonna break it off. Now, I noticed something. Unfortunately, this wedge is not near thick enough at the end. It's supposed to have a pretty drastic taper. So, unfortunately, I do believe we're gonna have to cut this again. Give ourselves a little bit more room to play. So we're gonna do that whole process again, tapering it to the end. And let's try it again, see if it works this time. Okay, now that we got another wedge, we're gonna try this all over again. Now, facing the flat side towards the hair in this direction, so essentially if you have the bow upside down, it's gonna be up. Now that appears to be really tight, so maybe we need to slim that down a little bit more. Now, I'm going to come over here to the other wedge, this one, and I'm gonna take a few measurements, and I'm gonna determine how long it is, and that's where I'm gonna cut my line to. Okay, look at that. Got ourselves a little wedge. Now I'm gonna shave off the front corners like so. Try not to cut myself, because that would be very inconvenient. And I'm gonna put a little bit of glue on the bottom side of this. The hair is gonna be touching the flat side, and the taper part is gonna be against the wood. So you're gonna put a little bit of glue, not much, just a tad, just enough to hold it on there. You're gonna put that on the wood side and slide it in there. Now we take our flat pliers like so and push it in to the wood. Okay, that is a frog that is done. All right. That is the frog. That is how you do the frog. Now let's do the tip. At this stage of the game, you need to soak your hair. So I'm just gonna roll it up a couple of times, stick it down in the water. Then I'm going to put that right there, and I'm gonna put my frog on it. Don't get a bunch of water up in the frog. That's not a good thing to do at all. Take the comb at this point, and you comb out your hair, trying to get it straight. Now that it's all wet, it's gonna stick together and it's gonna be a lot easier to manage. Okay, perfect. All right, now we're gonna put it back on the bow. Put it back on the bow. Now this is very, very important. Only screw it in a little bit. If you screw it in and you move this frog all the way to the back and you pair up the bow, you're not gonna have any room to tighten it up. So you're gonna wanna put it just a little bit from all the way loose. Now we're gonna wanna retape our bow to the table. All right, so now that my redneck ingenuity has secured the end of this over here, we are going to comb out our hair until it gets to the appropriate length. Wow, this stuff smells weird. Now there's a trick that I've seen people do, and I did not know this when I first started, so this helped me out a lot. Take a pointy object, stick it down to the deepest part of the hole in the tip of the bow, measure to the top of the hole, and you have that distance. Then you put it horizontally to the edge of the hole, facing towards the tip of the bow, and however long that little section is that you marked off with your thumb, you make a mark at the tip of it. The reason why we do that is where we're gonna wanna tie the knot at the top of our hank of hair. So now we have that mark, we're gonna pull it beside it. We're gonna get ourselves a little piece of string, move the string until it's lined up with that hole. Once we have that, then we're gonna start wrapping it around. Now it's very important to keep tension while you're wrapping this, because if you don't keep tension, then it's just gonna unravel on you. We're gonna tie a knot. Now this is relatively difficult to do by yourself, I will admit. So once we put the first knot in, like I just did, you're just kind of pulling it back and forth. All the while you're gonna keep tension on that knot with your finger, like I'm doing right here. So once we have that first knot in, we're gonna wrap it again, the whole thing, a couple times with each side of the thread. So I wrapped it with that side. Now I'm gonna come to the other piece of thread and wrap it in the opposite direction. So one thread wraps this way, the other thread wraps that way. Now that we have the knot tied, we're going to make sure we rotate it back so it's flat. Now we're gonna put a dab of Subaru on our knot. And that is gonna keep everything together and from unraveling. You're gluing that thread together so it does not come off. Now that our little piece of hair is dry, we shall cut the hair. Now you have to remember, it's kind of like cutting hair. You can always cut off more, but you can't put it back on. Okay, so now what we're gonna do is we're gonna cut a little wedge for this guy right here. Let's see, oh, look at there. That happens to be the right size. Okay, so we can use that again. I'm gonna make a mark on how wide it is, and then you make a mark on the other side. So as you can see, I drew some lines here. That's where we're going to cut it. So now that we have that little wedge, I'm gonna stick it down in there. And if I did it right, it's gonna fit right in there, which apparently I did it right. Now, you have to make room for the hair. So on this front edge, when we put it in here, just like this, we have to make enough room for the hair to be able to slide in there. So I'm gonna shave off a little bit of the front. Okay, so that's getting close. We're gonna trim that a little bit more. All right, so that should be good. Just gonna go around it and cut it on every side. Now we're gonna break it off with our needle nose pliers, and that is going to fit nicely right down in the tip of our bow. All right, so how this works is you have this little piece of wood that fits in the tip of your bow very tightly, and it fits in so that the hair comes around, you push it in just like I did over here, and it is a pressure fit, and the tension that is being exerted on the tip of the bow naturally by when you tighten it up, that is actually tightening in everything. Now, we get to do the fun part, which is burning the end. I wish I had $1 million. Hot dog! Bet you don't know where that came from. We're just burning the end so it's all burnt together. Trying not to burn my fingers. Once that's all cauterized on the end, we'll just take a little bit of super glue, dab it on the end. All right, once that dries, we can once again bend it, stick it in there, and then pressure fit our little block of wood. Let's see if it fits. All right, now that's in there. All right, push it down, nice and tight, down in there. See, flush with the top of the white, little fancy purfling. It bends over nice. And when you pull it, it tightens up against here, and it won't allow it to come out. All right, now we get to take it off. Take the tape off, come over here, stick this guy in there. He slips right in, tighten him up after we fit him in there. There we go. And we tension up our bow. Now, if you can see this, I don't know if it will show up on the camera, but you got a lot of stragglies that are loose in here. See that? See that? Those hairs under there? That is bad. We have to fix them. And how you fix them is you shrink them with heat. Normally you have a little torch that you do this with, but I'm gonna do it the old-fashioned way. The old matchmaker. Try not to burn my fingers. Basically what you're doing is you're just heating up the hair and shrinking it, and it will blend right in with the rest of the hairs that are doing what they're supposed to do. Now sure, you're gonna burn your fingers, but it's worth it. Now if you do it wrong, like I did it right there, you're gonna get a bunch of black on it, but that's not a big deal. All right, we got a couple more that are not behaving, so we're gonna do it again. Just gotta be real quick. Try not to stay too long on there because that's largely counterproductive. All right, now if you got a couple pieces of hair on here that are just being a general pain in the butt and they won't tighten up, just break them off. Not a big deal, not something that you are going to need to lose sleep over. Okay, so I said at the beginning of this video that if you don't put rosin on the bow, you're not gonna get any sound. So allow me to demonstrate what I mean when I say that. Let me get my film. This is a brand new, unrosined, rehaired bow. Let me show you how it sounds. You get the point. Now I'll show you what it sounds like after I put the rosin on there. And that is how to rehair a bow with things that you can find in your kitchen. Okay. You can obviously tell that I filmed the first intro and outro to the first video and the intro and outro to the second video at the same time because my hair has not changed and neither has my shirt. I actually threw this shirt in the dirty clothes hamper in the first video when I filmed the very original part of this video, and so I had to take it out of the dirty clothes hamper and it smells. So we're gonna try to cut this short so I don't have to wear this thing anymore. Anyway, thank you guys for watching. Come back next week. I will have my miniature build done. I'm doing a video on a miniature. I'm building a miniature and I'm doing a video on it. Hopefully, don't get excited. I know it's terribly exciting. Anyway, don't get excited about that. Hopefully I'll have it out at some point, maybe not. But also maybe I might have a painting video out. Who knows? It's a long time from now, actually. We don't know. Nobody knows. Not even I. If I don't know, how do you know? Anyway, like I said in the first video, if you want to follow me on any of my social media accounts, I'm going to see if I can link them, actually link them in the description this time, so you guys can follow me on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, all of those things. So until next time, you stay safe, you stay frosty, and go get yourself a Wendy's Frosty. No, Chick-fil-A. Chick-fil-A's better. All right, hit that subscribe button, comment, and like. Tell me what you guys want me to do a video on next week or in the future. Anything painting, violin related, anything, just tell me what you want and I'll see if I can get it done. Till then, peace out. Not falling on the floor this time. I'm just gonna walk away like a normal person.